We would like to acknowledge that this podcast is being recorded on the beautiful lands of the Larrakia people in Darwin. We pay our respects to elders past and present. We also acknowledge and honour the lives lost to violence and suicide. We recognise that meaningful change must happen together as a united community so the next generation can heal, grow and thrive in the Northern Territory. Hello, my name is Karyn. I come from both Indigenous and non-Indigenous roots. And like many women from our communities, my journey has carried both trauma and strength. Domestic violence doesn't discriminate, but how it affects us, how we heal from it, that's something deeply personal and often shaped by where we come from. In this two-part episode of Unbreakable Voices, Chelsea and I are stepping into a space of courage to speak our truths, to share what we've lived through, and to let others know they're not alone. In this first part, I'll be sharing my own lived experience. It's raw, it's real, and it's a part of what drives me every single day in my work, whether that's supporting others through mental health advocacy or in my mission through charity and community outreach. Because healing doesn't happen in silence. It happens when we speak, when we connect, and when we rise together. This is Unbreakable Voices, and this is my story.
Guys, Karyn and I have been yarning between ourselves about why we wanted to start this podcast and why it was important to us. And whilst we were hesitant, I think it's really important to actually tell a little bit about our stories and what brought us here today. So I'm going to start with yarning with Karyn. But before we kick off, we do want to remind you that, we wear different hats at work, as friends, as mothers. And today we're going to be very much ourselves. At times, people might think that we're dickheads, but this is who we are, and we're going to tell our story as if we were sitting down having a yarn at home. So, yeah, before we welcome everybody that's tuned in, but Sissy, hello. So I guess, we had those yarns about telling our stories, and I think it's really important that everybody can hear yours and you finally get an opportunity to have a voice like we want to give everyone else.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it, if you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess obviously we're talking about domestic violence. You're no stranger to domestic violence. I know that as your friend. Let's start from the beginning for you about what that was like and how that started for you.
Yeah, so I guess for me, domestic violence started for me when I was from childhood. Being in a home where domestic violence in general was just a part of the norm. I think because my family were from the stolen generation, where my grandparents were removed as children and then taken to missions where they weren't shown love or anything like that, and they were just shown discipline, and sometimes discipline but to the abusive stage. Maybe, and no love at all. I guess for them, they didn't understand love. So when it came to the time when they came to raise their own children in Darwin, they didn't know how to show their children love either. They would have had a lot of trauma within themselves due to being removed from childhood, due to being in that, removed from their families, removed from their language, their everything, has been stripped off them from children. Of course, they're going to have a lot of trauma. So with that, they didn't realise that they had actually passed that down to my mother and her siblings. So I don't blame anyone in particular when it comes to the violence that happened in our family, because none of us realised, the old saying is, hurt people. And you don't always realise that you're actually doing that. You're just trying to deal with your own pain. So that's how it first started, I guess, for me. And then, like I said, I didn't realise that it was violence or anything like that. I just realised that it was something I didn't like. I remember when I was about 6 and I first, again, didn't know that it was a word, anxiety, panic attack. There was an incident that happened in the home. I chased after my mum. My mum told me to go back. I couldn't breathe. I was shaking. I cried. My mum left. I had no one to go to. And when I think back now, I think of it so clearly at that time, but then I would have been around 6. But now I know it's a part of anxiety. And since being an adult now, I know, because I've been diagnosed with clinical depression, social anxiety, and complex PTSD and personality disorder. And I think a lot of those have come, even though they're just labels, they are just labels at the end of the day. But after knowing what I'm diagnosed with and doing a bit of research around it, I understand where it's come from and why I am the way I am, why I've been the way I've been in life. And it's not to have a excuse for my behaviour. It's just something that helps me to understand my behaviour and that I need to change for me and my children. Domestic violence then went on to my relationships outside my family. I chose men that also eventually became violent. And between the both of us having children at a young age, I don't blame him. And you know, I was also not only the victim but also the perpetrator. Because of my flight or fight response, I would also hit. Or if something upset me where I felt insecure about him, I would hit him as well. So I'm here not just as a victim but also a perpetrator, unfortunately.
That's a massive thing to come out and say. And those sorts of relationships, and we know, become really complex. And for you to be able to sit there and say, hang on, due to like what I went through, and you said it's not an excuse, but that flight or fight response and you would hit back. The relationship itself, I mean, you got babies, they're all grown. Yeah, all grown up, all lovely.
Yes,
lovely
they're my
babies.
blessings from God.
But, you know,
blessings.
I think that many people don't realise how hard it is to leave a relationship.
Very hard. So it took me at least 20 years before I finally broke those ties. I kept going back every other week for 20 years. And I guess the reason why is because I thought it was normal. I thought his abuse was, well, he loved me. I always said that he was my security blanket, no matter how people didn't understand that, because like, why would you think of him as a security blanket? He hurts you all the time, not just physically but also mentally, you know. Well, he was somebody I knew, and it sounds strange, but I felt safe with him to a point. There was obviously many times that I didn't feel safe in different ways, but I knew him and he knew me. And we had babies together. So, and I also understood that he had his own demons that he was fighting. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a really hard one, but you don't sort of. I didn't really think to leave until I actually went to see a psychiatrist one day, and because I didn't know what to do or who to ask, and the person said to me, sometimes it's better for your children to be raised in a home without the father if the home life is not good for the children. And again, when I say this, I'm not putting all the blame on him. It's me as well. Like, together we were just toxic.
Yeah. 20 years is a long time.
Yeah.
I know that's 2 decades.
Yeah. Yeah.
You look 30, as we all know.
Whatever.
True, God. But it's true.
I wish.
Yeah. But, you know, you're talking 20 years, that's a very long time.
Yeah.
You know, that's such a big part of your life. You know, you've had children together, and to be able to walk away is one of the hardest things, as we know. I mean, statistically, I think they rationaled out that, you know, women, it takes 7 to 10 times before a woman leaves, and a hell of a lot more for others. I think, you know, when we were yarning with the likes of Vincent Hurley, and he was saying, what's right for me, or when my breaking point for me might be different to Karyn and Chelsea's.
Yeah.
For someone to reach that breaking point. And I wanted to talk about what was the moment for you that made you go, that's it. When was that?
The moment for me where was no return for me was when my son and his father had a fight over me, basically. And
The smell flowers?
yeah.
A little bit of an inside joke. Son's
Yeah.
got a tattoo with flowers, so smell the flowers.
Yeah, I think that was enough for me. It was both me and the dad was hurting our children, and I really realised that, and I didn't want to hurt my children. I grew up with seeing violence all my life. You know, I knew how it affected me. I shouldn't have gone on for either him or I shouldn't have gone along as long as we did. I think we should have cut it very early, but unfortunately, I really thought that I was in love, and I didn't know love.
Because how old were you, Mob, when you got together?
18.
Yeah, so still really learning about the world.
Yeah, I was a mess of a young girl. I didn't know what I was doing, what I was saying. I was abusive. Like my mouth was absolutely disgusting.
Still is. Jokes?
No, I'm better now. But it was absolutely disgusting. I learnt at a really young age the thing that I can hurt people with the most was my mouth. My mouth was as low as you can come. And I remember the father of my kids wrote me a letter one day, and he left it on my car, and he said, and part of it was, unfortunately, your mouth comes out of the same place that I shit and piss.
This
And I'm like, oh, that's a bit harsh.
rough.
But when I really look at it, 100%, my mouth was absolutely disgusting. I said things that, honestly, I didn't mean, but I knew it was going to hurt you. And if you hurt me in a certain way, I was going to go low. But I'll
ask for an example, but
No.
discretion advised.
No. I'm cleaning it up.
That's good. I think look, I'm kind of going to go backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've skipped over some important parts. We talk about violence comes in so many different forms, physical and emotional and you know, all of that sort of stuff. And it very much sounds like, in our yarns, and I know parts of your story, not all of your story, to the depth, and vice versa, whilst we talk. But I think that I wanted to sort of take you back to talk about the different forms of violence that you endured and what that looked like.
Yeah.
You know, me and you do crack jokes, and some people don't get it. And for those, when we do crack jokes about this, it's our way.
Yeah. It's not that it's not that we're not taking domestic and sexual violence or violence in general serious. We are definitely, but it's a way I've always dealt with my stories, my truth-telling stories. I laugh about certain things, but it's only my healing. It's just part of my healing. It's not that I think it's funny. It's just...
And we talk about being dissociated.
Yeah.
We've learnt dissociation was one of our biggest tools, I guess. Sometimes desensitised, or we act like we're desensitised, but really we're probably a bit soft.
Yeah.
You know, hard on the outside, but once you break through those walls. Can you tell us about the physical side of things and to the extent of what that was?
I guess from childhood it was the violence, like I said, in the home. It was physical violence more than anything, and it was witnessing violence in the home. That went right through my childhood through to, you know, becoming an adult. I loved my mother, but she was quite also a violent woman, but that's because of her trauma. She didn't know how to be a mum. She wasn't maternal, she even said to me one day. And, yeah, so it was more physical violence throughout the home life. Then I guess when I left, then it was violence, you know, out in the streets. I was quick to hit. I had a cheeky mouth, so I was always getting into fights.
Don't believe it.
I wasn't a nice young girl. And so, yeah, it was more physically, but then I guess it also led into the mental abuse where, you know, people are just saying purely nasty things to me, and I don't know how to deal with that. And sometimes I think the mental abuse was worse for me eternally than the physical abuse was, if that makes sense.
It does. I'll talk to that later from my perspective, but I do understand what you're saying. they've brought new laws in for coercive control and those sorts of things because they've actually recognised how damaging that sort of stuff is, the psychological stuff, the coercive stuff, and just how damaging it is.
Yeah.
Because, we can carry physical scars, and you and I both have those.
Yeah.
But it's those internal scars, and that people don't see, that are embedded as a result of that sort of stuff that's caused the coercive, the psychological, the mental and the emotional. And it's hard to talk to people about that, because they don't see it, because it's not physical. It's not on you.
It's not physical bruises or markings. It's inside. And I felt that mental abuse is what's made me go to the point where I'm just off the chart and I'm not that person. I'm not me. It's like I become somebody else. When I get into that rage, when you've really broken my heart, I turn into a totally different person. It's not because I want to be that person. It's horrible. And it's not until I calm down I think, I feel so embarrassed, I'm so apologetic. But how do you apologise to people when sometimes, you've just gone too far? And
do you reckon that's what these fellas do too? I mean, perpetrators, do you think that men inflicting domestic violence, that these are the thoughts they have? Or do you think that, every person is different? And how do we clear cut and explain violent men?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously I can't really answer for other people. Everyone is different. But in saying that, I would say that there would be a high risk that these men have been through violence themselves, they've seen it throughout their childhood where, their fathers may have done it, or the males in their life may have done it to the other females, or vice versa. So, I would think that it's a learnt behaviour as well. But then also it could be the trauma within them as well. Yeah. So a combination of both, the environment,
I think too, I just want to highlight how we met and that instant connection.
Yeah.
Became like that. But we kind of knew, we were kind of drawn to each other. And I think we had so many similarities and we've become so close so quickly and very similar stories and stuff like that. And to see you now, by the way, just want to highlight some achievements, people. This woman taking out amazing awards and the work that she's doing with young people and suicide prevention and working with people of all backgrounds, particularly Aboriginal women and men, and doing the work that you do, which is so important and powerful. How did you get from being what you've spoken about and hurt and doing all of that? What was it like for you to get to where you are now in that healing process? What did healing look like to you, and how are you now? Like, where are you at with yourself in that journey? How to get to where you are now? Because you're a powerful person, you've got a presence, and you're making a change and you're helping other people. How did you get to that? After everything that you endured, how did you get to that?
Yeah, I think I don't see myself as a powerful person. I think that I'm just a person that's trying every day, and I get up every day and try again. For me, what happened to me is I had a massive breakdown in 2015, after working for the government for 16 years. My children had obviously turned 18 and 19 and they wanted to move out, which was normal, but for me it wasn't. It was like, why are you leaving me?
They came back.
Yeah. But so I went through a bit of empty nesting. Look it up if you don't know what empty nesting is about. I went into a deep depression. I felt like, I've made so many mistakes and had so many regrets in my life. And that got me to the point where I was. Now, I grew up in Christianity, through the Methodists and church and with my family, and then I drifted away. And 2015, when I was sitting on the floor of my kitchen with this really heavy, dark thing sitting next to me, I'd planned my suicide attempt. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I wrote the notes to put on my wall so in case my kids did come around, just, please don't unlock the door, call 000, I planned everything because I honestly, in my mind, thought that nobody loves me, nobody's ever cared for me. I was just always there. I've been abused most of my life, and my kids don't need this. Surely they can do better than me. I'm going to take my life. And I was sitting there on the floor and I was crying, heartbroken, with sadness, and there was big, dark, black thing sitting right next to me, and it was so heavy. Something made me pick up the phone and ring my pastor, who I hadn't spoken to in years. And same pastor that baptised me when I was 11. And I told him that I'm sitting here and I've got this thing next to me. I knew then it was a demon. For me, that's what we were learned, and I've never seen or felt anything like that before. And he said to me, close your eyes and we're going to pray. So I closed my eyes and we prayed. And that thing, when I opened my eyes, it was gone. After that day, even though I'm not going to sit here and say all smooth sailing, but after that day I realised God had saved my life so many times and he's doing it again. This time I'm going to give my life to God and I'm going to have that relationship with God because he loves me regardless,
Yeah.
And so from that day onwards, I chose to follow God. I'm not perfect and 100% I'm not perfect. That's not why I'm following God. It's because I need him, yeah. But for me, I believe that if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today. And if it wasn't for my kids, I wouldn't be here today either. That's when I decided also that, I ended up I wanted to get back into working. I left the government and I thought, I want to get another job, but I wanted to do it in the space. So I missed a bit, but my nephew then suicided. So I wanted to get in that space because I also had a partner that suicided when we were 17.
Yeah.
So
something really close to your heart.
Yeah, it was something close to my heart. So I thought, I'm going to get in that suicide space. Started volunteering with organisations, and then I was offered a job in the detention centre, and which I went in and did. I loved. It was amazing, but it was there that I realised I can't make much change, but I'm going to leave and try and make change on the outside, which is when I just hit the ground running because really I gave up a good wage. I had nothing, but I was on to making a change. So that's when I started with the non-clinical community-led safe space in partnership with another organisation, and then I started developing programs but delivering Aboriginal mental health first aid and youth Aboriginal mental health first aid, and started getting out of the communities and actually seeing on the ground that I can actually help people because you know what, I've got lived experience too, and I've been where you are. And I noticed that even going into the prisons with the girls and working with the kids in Don Dale's, these mob actually are drawn to me, and it's because I just am who I am. I don't come in as this worker. I come in as a person with lived experience. I get you. I understand. I'm here to support you. I'm here to talk if you need to talk.
And giving them that space.
And I'm an open book too. I'll tell you my story,
Yeah, I obviously picked that from the first time we met.
Yeah.
and vice, and I think that's why we're very much the same. Anyone that meets me, I don't really care.
Nah.
My story, I'll say it how it is.
Yeah.
Is what it is, and there's
I'm
no
too
shame.
old to have shame anymore.
Yeah, that's right. And I wish I had filmed the drive on the way here, just our banter and what we're like. But it's an amazing story, and I think from where you came from, a young person with your family and the entire process for you and the trauma that you've carried, to then turn that into something that is so meaningful and powerful and positive for other people.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel inside, and where are you at now? You talk about demons, but where are you at now? And does that stuff in complex PTSD, talk to me about those diagnoses and what that looks like for you today?
Yeah. So, a lot of people think, oh, she's strong, she's got it all together. They see these reels on Facebook and TikTok that we post and they think, oh, we're having a fat old time, amazing. No, you don't see me when I'm down, and there was only, as you know, Chelsea, only a month ago where I went into deep depression because we've got a family member that is very sick, and I went into a deep, deep depression. 2 weeks I didn't get out of bed. I was sick. I didn't eat. I slept 24/7. And if it wasn't for you, Chelsea, that came and said, nah, we're going out in the water today. And I was like, no, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not.
Yeah, there was no
And you weren't having it.
Nah.
If it wasn't for you that day that did that, I don't know when I was going to get out of that cycle. I think I needed that big adrenaline. I think I needed to get back out on nature because I don't think as human beings we should be locked up 24/7.
That's right.
And when you're going through depression, you don't live with other people because I live on my own now.
Yeah.
You go into this deep, dark place and you think,
Isolate.
yeah, and you isolate even more.
And everything, your thought process and, you have moments where, everything starts flooding back.
Yeah.
And I wanted to highlight too that, you don't drink.
No. People think I do, but I don't. This is
People
normal.
think she does, but she does not drink. She's a mad crack, just sober.
Yeah.
And I mean, but so many people are envious of that, being able to be happy and have the amount of fun and the energy that you have and that you bring to people and the joy you bring people, myself included, and what you brought to my life. And, and you do that without having to use something in order to get there. And that's drawn, I think, that whilst you still have that trauma, that you've just got this amazing energy as a person and you make people happy. And you speak about the young people and you build those connections, you do that naturally. So to be able to be yourself and not need something anymore in that sense, and everyone Darwin knows I don't mind a bevy. We'll talk about that later. But, to be able to do that, the accomplishment and achievement in itself, it's remarkable and it's inspiring. And
yeah. Well, when I gave my heart to the Lord, I was like, I'm not going to drink because I knew that was actually bringing me down more than anything, especially and it'll take a week off me to recover. So I was like, I can't do that. But the other thing is my drug of choice, unfortunately, was prescription medication. So at one stage I was addicted to benzos, very highly addicted. As in I'd pop 10 of those a day because at the time I didn't know they were addictive and I suffered with anxiety, so the doctor would just give me Valium like Tic Tacs and I'd eat them like Tic Tacs. So loved it, thought that was the best thing since sliced bread, mother's little helper.
Yeah.
So I became very addictive for being on that for 10 to 15 years full on, every day.
And that's those of you that don't know, benzos or that type of drug, it is very, very difficult to come off. And extreme, high withdrawals and physical withdrawals and psychological withdrawals as well. So, that's a long time. So to be able to step away from that.
Yeah. So firstly, when I was 24, I was put on antidepressants because of my depression, but I wasn't really diagnosed with much. Yeah. So then obviously years later I just got into benzos, which I feel sad about now because, my kids just saw me as a single mum majority of the time, working full-time though for the government.
Yeah.
But on Valium.
Yeah,
so I'd come
functioning.
Home, yeah, functioning.
Functioning, yeah.
But then I'll come home and sleep, and my poor babies, they understand my story now and I've, explain it and things like that. But so I've been on antidepressants since I was 24. I'm now 52. That's one thing.
Do you believe it?
Can you believe
Check
it?
the ID.
Thank you.
Amazing.
I don't look that great. But at my age, I'm still on an antidepressant, but I was able to get off Valium myself because in Darwin, when I tried to ask for help for a rehab centre or anything like that, the first thing Tab said to me was, oh, do you smoke? No. Do you drink? No. Do you take an illicit drugs? No. No ganja? No, nothing? No, I don't. Well, what's your problem? Prescription medication, benzos, we don't help you with that. Yes. We can't help with prescription medications. So it took me 3 years of fighting to get off that crap, and I was an absolute mess. My bones were so sore. I was shaking. I had to have my kids drive me to the doctors and things like that. Yeah. There was no way when I had to come off that. And mind you, the doctor took me off it. Oh, wow, this is too much.
And
why are we giving it to you? Suddenly.
That in
bring
itself
me off
is
slowly.
so dangerous, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was an absolute mess physically and mentally, and I don't know how many times I attempted suicide through that time as well. Took me 3 years till I got myself back again.
I just want to pull up to, we're talking about services and the health system, and when you were, I'll take you back a little bit here, but I wanted to speak to when you were going through domestic violence with your partner. What was the police response like for you and services? What was that like for you when, you needed access to that? I know we'd had yarns previously, and you made a comment, and the comment was that they never came for me. They didn't care about me. They just came
for him,
for my partner,
but for different reasons. Yeah.
And so, can you talk to me about that?
Yeah.
Or can you tell these mob about that? I guess because it's important to talk about, isn't it? That for policing to hear and have people's perspectives, so that we can better improve our services and us included in what we do. If we're not listening to people and what's happened and getting those perspectives when we don't get, it's feedback, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So all I can remember growing up and going through domestic violence with my partner, and I never rang the police on him. I may have once or twice if he got on my nerves or I had enough.
But you say got on your nerves, but when you say got on your nerves, I mean, you
had enough.
You did experience like physical violence.
Oh, yeah.
And, black eyes and things that you've shared with me.
Yeah.
I mean, like actual physical violence. And I know that when you talk about it, you talk about like, no, she's right. That happened. It's awkward.
Brush it off.
Yeah. But you're like, yeah, that happened. And but you talk about it so easily, like, and it was, some of it was, you were hurt.
Yeah.
You were physically hurt.
Yeah.
How did you feel when police are rocking up and it wasn't about you? And there you are in this situation.
Yeah, so it was more other people would ring the police and then the police would rock up. But I knew, because at times when I did ring the police, they wouldn't rock up. Or I see it now even when I've had to ring for other women for domestic violence, they don't turn up, or they turn up
or late,
the next day, or 12 hours
later,
later,
4 or 5 hours later.
They're already gone and dusted. You could be dead by then.
That's right.
But for me, because my partner at the time was a naughty boy, and the police were always after him, it felt more like they would only turn up because they're actually looking for him anyway.
Yeah, okay.
It was more for the crime, not so much because
about you.
It was definitely not about me. It was definitely because they just were after him anyway. But they could use that.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, it was more neighbours calling the police than myself calling.
I'm so glad to hear that neighbours called or someone else called, because we yarned about in one of our other episodes that it should be a community problem. A lot of people don't want to know about it.
But then in saying that, I lived in a nice neighbourhood.
Yeah.
Would they have still done that if I
it was
didn't?
Another way.
You know what I mean?
And that's a fair point. I mean, you got to wonder, when you're around suburbs and you've got housing mob and all the rest of it, I wonder if it's a common occurrence, whether they still give a shit.
Yeah, whether they turn up at all.
That's the fucking reality, is that a lot of people turn away and don't want to know about it, or I'm not going to get involved with that shit. Well, that's the problem too, isn't it? It's that, those people that are experiencing that, who do not have the power, ability or confidence to do it themselves, they need someone else to do it. They need someone else to open their mouths for them, because they've lost their voice already. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think also coming from that Indigenous perspective, because, I am part Aboriginal, my mother's Aboriginal, and I was raised by a black family. So, and my partner was Aboriginal. I think that it's another reason why, I don't know, like it just wasn't important enough to turn up as well.
I mean, and that was evident in the inquiry, and what did come out of, looking at police responses and community response at the NT. And you're right, whilst, it was indicative that there was racial bias. There was Aboriginal women here do not get the same voice, as we know. We've spoken about this many a times. Yeah. So, you're absolutely right. People can say what they want, but, I mean, it's proof in the pudding, and people see fellas out on the street arguing and they don't do nothing because this is an Aboriginal problem. Yeah. It's not a community problem. I'm not doing shit. Yeah. These mob are drinking, or they're doing this or doing that. Who cares? Domestic violence is domestic violence. Do something about it. Don't stand there like a
100%.
dickhead.
Yeah.
Don't drive past laughing and filming on your phone to post labias. Pull up.
Yeah, pull up.
Get the police. Stop it from happening. You don't know the trauma that woman, regardless whether they're drinking or whatever. You don't know their stories. You know, we talk about, we see all over social media, and the context I'm speaking to is that, you know, people putting videos up of Aboriginal people in the Darwin City or whatever else, and they're like, look at these mob, and making racial comments, and or they film it outside, you know, what's the pub on the Mitchell Street and that sort of thing, and a lot of the comments, and people are laughing. Well, you've got no idea what's going on for that person that's in that video or that is behaving like that. You don't know their story.
Yeah.
How dare you? You know, I think
100%. And for those also people, because I get this all the time, but you're fair skin, or, you know, they wouldn't. Well, actually they do, because they just know you're Indigenous. The police know you're Indigenous, and and even if you're mixed up in that group, like at the end of the day, like, yes, my partner was a naughty boy. Cops knew us anyway. So I think sometimes it's more so they won't turn up for you.
Yeah.
But if you were not a part of crime or whatever, and you're just another Indigenous person, they probably wouldn't turn up at all.
Yeah.
But because they were after him, they were always, they were most of the time there. But if he wasn't on the run for something else, they'd never turn up.
Yeah. And, you know, we'd like to think, you know, sometimes, and God, you know, we have spoken about a lot of shit over this and so much for hours on end. And I think that, you know, we got good coppers.
Yeah,
We've got maybe not so good coppers who don't give a shit, who they've done a 12-hour shift, they don't want to fucking deal with it. You know, they don't want to write up the fucking notes when they get back to the station or do this or do that. And we get it. We talk about burnout. Me and you get burnout.
Yeah, 100%.
Shit, I've been in this line of work in community services and AOD and counselling and working with domestic violence perpetrators themselves for close to 16 years now. And you've been in this space for Christ knows. And, you know, so we both know how quickly we can burn out. But at the end of the day, fucking be accountable in your job, turn up, and if you're burning out, don't fucking be there as the response person.
Yeah.
You and I both know we're not going to turn up to a situation where we've got someone that's got serious mental health, suicidal ideation, or whatever else might have you. I don't go to work and then do programs with whoever or with anyone, or in my career, I should say. I'm not going to refer to my work whatsoever, but in my career, I'm not going to work with a client when I'm fucked that day. I'm tired or I'm this, I'm that. You just don't. You call in because you've got a responsibility to that person.
Yeah.
Same as police have a responsibility to the fucking community and to every single call that comes through to attend and respond fucking appropriately.
Yeah, and if you
know
can't
what I
do
mean?
your job right,
Then fuck off.
leave.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sorry for my language, but we gave discretion. It's all good.
And the other thing is, like, also looking back, the neighbours would ring the police and police would rock up. I was angry with the neighbours back then because you got to remember, I was a young woman. I was mum of children. I was not the full quid.
You're not now, sissy.
No, I know, but I would attack my neighbours as well. Like, how dare you, mind your own business. But it's not, but do not mind your own business. You've done the right thing. Thank you to those people that did call the police 20 years ago or whatever. Yeah, like I understand, and I would do the same thing, but back then I just didn't get it. And when you're young like that, you just don't get it.
And that question to you, a lot of people would say, why didn't you fucking leave? Why did you stay? And I know that you've spoken to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to try and convey that message because not everyone's going to understand. They weren't living in the house with you, and whilst there was issues, you wouldn't have stayed if there wasn't good times.
It was normal to me. Violence was normal to me. He was somebody that showed me attention. Therefore, I thought he loved me.
And there must have been good times, right?
100%. There was good times. And even today, we have no hard feelings with each other. We're friends. If he ever needed anything from me, I would be there. I'm sure he'd do the same for me. I know he loves our children. There's no beef between us.
That's right. And that's part of that healing that you went on too.
100%. I don't want to be holding that bitterness and the hatred. Not everybody. I'm not telling every woman to do the same to their ex-partner because everyone's journey is different. But my journey, 100%, we're good. You know, when we just see each other as family now, and that's just the way it is. And we're content with that.
I got to ask, if you could do it all over again, would have you changed anything?
I'd go out with somebody else.
Sorry, butter.
Sorry.
But you know, it's a it's a big question, isn't
children.
it? See, that's the thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I
how
love
bad
my children.
it was.
I could never change a thing when it comes to my babies. If I had to have different babies, I couldn't imagine myself. I just love my babies. But I wish that I did better
I hope
as
you're
well.
listening to that, kids.
Yes, I hope you're listening. I love my babies. But I hope that, I guess, for that younger generation, be very wary and picky on what you're going, because you got to live with that person for the rest of your life, especially whether you're together or not and you have babies, you're going to be with that person. A connection's going to be there for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? For some of you, you know, you got
not
that,
my story,
that blood connection. But would I change it? I don't know. No, not because because of my
babies.
children. Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And I just want to shout out to the kids. I've met both of them who are just absolutely amazing and absolute high achievers in their professions and what they've done, and that's such a testament to what you've done for them and the messages that you have taught them, the good and whatever that happened, even in that relationship in your marriage. They're just absolutely beautiful kids.
And they've learnt things from both of us.
That's right, yeah.
Please don't get me wrong. The father, there's good things about him too, and you know.
Well, if there wasn't, you wouldn't have went with him in the first place, or what? Or stayed for 20
I
years.
thought he was a sexy little black thing.
Dinking her out on the push bike as a kid. The good old dinky around Darwin on the BMX
But
bike.
I'm not going to sit here and run him down. Like, at the end of the day, we were both very broken people. We got together, we had children together, and you know, we both had brought toxicity to the relationship, and I just did my best to try and pull us out of it, and try, and I think, and I was not a perfect mum. I'm not going to sit here and say I was a perfect mum. My kids still did it hard, and all I can do is apologise for, I didn't have the tools back then to know how to be a better mum or a better person at that stage. I sort of, like I said, I'm now 52 and just learning how to be a better person now.
Yes.
I hope that, you know,
and that
the next generations
really
will be better.
Yeah.
Do better.
I think we talk about generational trauma, generational pain, and I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
You know, with what happened to me, which, you know, we'll speak to later. But the fact that we can sit there in ourselves and really be accountable and recognise that, and for you to do that and have that reflection and still be delivering and doing what you're doing and the messages and the work that you're doing is, you know, you could have gone one way and really done a really bad path.
Yeah.
And you didn't. You fought like shit. Yep. You fought to be here. You fought to turn your life around. And, you know, I'm very proud to be your friend.
Thank you.
But, you know, and well done. And thank you for sharing your story. If there's anything that you could tell these mobs out there, younger women, women now, regardless of age, what would you say to them?
Do better for your children. Start the healing generation. Start that next generation for the better of your next generations coming. You have to be the one that breaks the chains. Yeah. And while it's not easy to do, you have to do it for your babies.